Whoa. Okay, guys, Lou Samuelson and the Indiana Fever have mutually parted ways. This is a developing story, so let's get into it. Okay, I was making a video about how the Nike ad was better than the Super Bowl, and this information just happened, so I am just getting into it right now. So I am just going to go over to Twitter because that is the fastest place for information nowadays. But so I guess Lou Samuelson and the Indiana Fever created a buyout, which I'm assuming is because they couldn't move her to another team. And the Indiana Fever are over on their cap space as of this moment. And I gotta say, this is a sad one, guys. This is a real sad one because I was watching the last Unrivaled game with Lou Samuelson in it, and she did not look okay. She did really well at the beginning of the game, but I was watching her on the sidelines, and when they were talking about plays, and her face, her everything, her body language, it was just really off. And in case you guys aren't aware, Lou Samuelson did delete her Instagram or privated it or something because I'm assuming they probably were talking or in negotiations about this buyout because it doesn't just happen overnight. And that game was the other night. So she had to have known that night. And it really showed. And not only that, but Keith Porter was also down in Miami practicing. I think he was down in Miami, but either way, he was practicing with Lexi Hull. He was practicing with Leah Boston in a lab vibe situation. And Lou Samuelson was not there. So all signs indicated that this was just a done deal at some point. But yeah, according to Chloe Peterson, the Fever have mutually parted ways with Lou Samuelson. The Indiana Fever and Lou have mutually parted. Oh gosh, I'm repeating myself. The team announced today. The forward played one season in Indiana, appearing 37 games, averaging 4.3 points. Okay, so her salary was $180,000, which was a big hit, like a big salary hit for the Indiana Fever. And usually with these contract divorces, the buyout is a bit lower, but the numbers haven't been reported. So we're gonna hear more about this. This is just like coming out right now. According to the Indiana Fever's social media, we have mutually parted ways with forward Lou Samuelson. Wishing you all the best. Oh man, I wonder what the comment section looks like. Oh, this actually hurts my heart. Just because this is one of those things that people just would not stop talking about, including myself, because it had to happen. Like the Indiana Fever cannot be paying $180,000, cannot be paying a $180,000 contract for somebody who is not delivering. And while Lou in her UConn, like at her days in UConn, I think she outperformed Napheesa Collier. But a lot of people think it was her having a baby and while I can only imagine how hard that is to come back from, she has had the time now, and Napheesa Collier has also had a child, and I think that Napheesa Collier's court presence, that's proof that you can do this and be the dominant person in the league, which Napheesa Collier is. And Lou has, she was known for her shot more than anything, but she has not garnered her shot back. And again, it's a sad truth with Lou that something needed to happen. Now, Lou is on a protected contract, which means they can't just say, hey, we're going to waive you, because then they would have to buy her contract out. And so I think that the Indiana Fever were looking to trade with probably the Valkyries or another team that had a lot of cap space that struck out in free agency. But I don't know that happened. But I don't know anything, so I can't really say. But it doesn't sound like there was a trade involved because I think that would have been reported. It does sound, but the Indiana Fever had to do something. I am just dying to know what. And from the NBA to the WNBA, from what happened to Natasha Cloud to what happened to Luka Doncic, like we're just seeing how brutal the business side of sports can be. And in the last 1 month, so we can really only speculate what their next moves are, how much cap space that they will have to play with. Are they going to go out with 11 players? Are they going to go out with 12 players? Because 11 players is the minimum that you are allowed to play with on a team as per the WNBA rules. But I think with seeing all these injuries in Unrivaled, a lot of people are going to be thinking twice before understaffing their team. And I think that it's a scary thought if Aaliyah Boston, for some god-awful reason, goes out with an injury, because while Damaris Dantas has apparently been doing great overseas, I have not personally seen it myself. I have seen she has like trimmed down. One of her worst attributes was how slow she was. I don't think she defends well in the paint. So, and that's Aaliyah Boston is in the paint. She is there trying to get over on these like bigs. And you know, she's got a lot of work to do in that area herself. So what would the Indiana Fever do if Aaliyah Boston went down? Would it be a Natasha Howard at the 5? Like, is this a permanent solution? So I'm of the mind to think that if they were to play around with anything, a backup center with the ability to push through the paint would be a priority for Indiana. That's just me. But because if you think about any of the other positions, the 3 and the 4, like Bonner and Natasha Howard can like go back and forth. They have Sophie Cunningham, who's like a 3-and-D wing, and Lexi Hull could go in for Sophie Cunningham. They could like rotate that down a little bit, but that 5 spot, that like center spot, that pushing through the paint, I can see Natasha Howard being able to do that pretty well, but I don't know that that's like a long-term solution for the Indiana Fever for the entire season. So you always have to have these contingencies, because I'm telling you, Unrivaled has really showed me, like, you have to be prepared for multiple players of your team to possibly go down. And I just don't think Indiana is prepared in that way. But, they might be running like a small ball offense, like type of thing, which I think that they're going to be doing anyway. And I think that that's what they're good at. And, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do always the same thing, but you can play a little bit outside of the box, color a little bit outside of the lines, like to do what's best for your team. Because somebody like New York Liberty with all of their bigs, that is what made them really, really dominant. But the Minnesota Lynx, like their ball movement is what made them dominant. So I think the Indiana Fever, what they have is they have pace. And with Damaris Dantas getting apparently quite fast overseas, I'd love to see it. I should check it out. But that could be good. I just really want to see her defense game upped a little. Okay, so as I've been making this video, some new information came out, and this is per Alexa Philoupou from ESPN. So apparently there have been talks over the past week, which is exactly what I speculated. I mean, it only makes sense. I'm not like, a genius or anything. That there have been conversations between Samuelson and Indiana regarding buyout terms that have been happening over the past week. In that span, she's also been in discussions with 4 teams as potential next destinations. Samuelson will hit the wire for 5 days, then becomes a free agent. Wow, this is so interesting. This is just so interesting. I wonder if she'll go to the Sun. She is UConn alumni. I mean, could she go to the Aces? Because they still do need to fill that like shooting forward spot on the Aces. I don't know what, I'm not exactly sure what the salary, if she's a free agent, I guess she can negotiate any salary she wants. So I could see the Aces possibly picking her up. But, I'm sure that they're not paying her the $180,000 buyout. I'm sure it's lower. And if she is talking to other teams, she can negotiate whatever salary, and it could be, maybe it's not going to hit the $180K that she was making, but, let's be completely honest about Katie Lou Samuelson. Nothing personal, but I don't know that a near max, I wouldn't call it near max, but that's a pretty high salary, and I don't know that she has that output in her game. But, it does make me wonder, because Stephanie White was at the Unrivaled game too. I wonder if Steph White went down to have a conversation with her, like face to face, and this is where she found out. Did she find out before the game, and that's why she was just so off on the sidelines? And then when she was in for 4 minutes, like burst out scoring 10 points, and then she's kind of quiet afterwards, but still, something to prove kind of thing. But since she was on a protected contract, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she had every right to deny this negotiation and say, no, I'm going to stay on you. I'm going to stay on your roster. This is what you get. But I don't think that would do any good for the locker room presence. I don't think it would be good for Katie Lou to stay if it came out that she just wouldn't leave the Indiana Fever. I think a lot of people would have like a lot of resentment about that. So this is not a best case scenario. It's like, what's not the worst case scenario? But this is basically a contract divorce. Hopefully someone on one of those new teams will pick her up, because I do have faith that she can come back because of the talent that she has exhibited in the past. And I do wish her all the best.